Be aligned in business, and in our sector, we take 2 years, 3 years. Truly, that's one of the big differences in cultures. But you can't let it go on forever. At a certain point, you got to say.
That's the challenge mark.
And it's a challenge. And sometimes people put it as a challenge. It's a challenge, and it's a kind of ugly conversation. But really, that's really what it is. They're saying, no, I'm not going to do it.
One of the hardest things to do is let somebody go, especially in this particular profession where we really want to counsel them and do social work, trace their ancestry and how they felt about their mother, rather than saying your performance is not up to snuff. We're going to have to part company here at some point. That's very hard for any leader to do, but especially new leaders.
I think sometimes also being very, the clarity and the directness of what you say is very important. And it doesn't have to be harsh, but it has to be very clear. And this is the consequence if. And just simple.
Susan, you look like you're going to have something.
Well, I was just, a couple of things, but one is, I think at some point one has to, for yourself, set a benchmark is how much is good enough. Like some of those folks, if they're good enough, that's good enough. If they're a detriment to the well-being of the organization, you've got to keep your eye on that ball. So I think sometimes when we have these conversations, you know, we fool ourselves that everybody can be motivated to be a team player. You know what? I mean, I can say that now looking back. I've done all of the things and more than I've talked about here. But I think sometimes, you know, we need to let ourselves and the other people, not off the hook, but to agree if, you know, if they're here and they're contributing and they may not be the superstars you wish, maybe you have to wait till you got an opportunity to either get them in the right place or, but to be able to say to yourself at some point as a leader, okay, you know, you don't want a whole room full of those people, but for some, you know, that's not only what they can do, but what you can live with, because you can't take it all on at once.
Has anybody had the experience of letting a staff member go and the staff coming and saying,
Oh, I have
thank
that all the
goodness
time.
that happened, and you realize, and have you ever had the experience of the person who you let go coming back and saying thank you? I was able to move on. I knew I was, never happened to you, Ken. It gave me an opportunity to pursue a new career, a new direction. So sometimes as a leader you need to be tuned in to what's frustrating you, and maybe they're feeling held back, and to have some sidebar conversations is a good idea.
Did anybody say yes when you asked the question
No.
about the thank you?
No.
Do you have that? Say
I've
yes.
seen people, you
Say
know,
thank
that,
you.
okay. I mean, they don't do it right away
Yeah.
at all, but it takes a while for them, as well as for you. I think often, though, in this sector, we let it go too long, and we're not clear enough. And I think
Yes.
often we think because of this kind of talk, and it's more than talk, I mean, books are written about how to motivate people, that's your failure. And so you have to own it all, and I'm a good leader if I keep these people on that have been here 25 years and all this kind of stuff. And sometimes they don't have the capacity to make the right decision for themselves. So, I mean, you know how some people have to have the struggle before they can let go? I mean, and others can walk into it and say, okay, I'm going to control this. But there are people that would rather have an external control, so that you end up deadlocked, I think, sometimes in those sorts of things. It's hard to know what is the right way to go. But for some people, you know, they won't tell you at the time, but it allows them to free themselves up.